What if one American state helped shape the modern world more than almost any country on Earth? You see it in fragments, the glint of glass towers in Silicon Valley, the thunder of waves against Malibu cliffs, the neon of Hollywood at night, the endless stretch of freeway filled with brake lights. California looks like a promise, sunlight on palms, fast cars, tech offices humming with code. But beneath the glamour is a story of reinvention, violence, hope, and reinvention again. This is how California became America's most influential state. Before California became famous, it was a wild, stitched-together landscape of deserts, mountains, forests, and coastlines. Imagine the land before flags and billboards, fog rolling over redwood canopies, wind carving dunes at the edge of the Pacific, salmon running thick in cold rivers. It was a frontier in the truest sense, vast, varied, and brimming with life. People lived here for thousands of years, thriving in ways that matched the land's rhythms. Native California was not empty. Hundreds of distinct tribes called this place home: Chumash along the coast, Miwok in the valleys, Yokuts in the Central Valley. Each community knew where to fish, when to burn prairie, to encourage edible grasses, how to read the sky and sea. Villages clustered around springs and oak groves. Songs told of origin and survival. You can almost feel the daily rhythm. The paddle on the water, children learning to gather, elders telling stories beneath star-bright nights. This was a land of deep knowledge and care, until contact changed everything. Spanish ships appeared on the horizon with crosses and claims. Spain imagined California as an extension of empire, a string of missions meant to secure land and souls. Mission bells rang out across the coast, and the mission system remade landscapes and lives. Crops and livestock transformed the terrain. For many native people, missions meant forced labor, new diseases, lost freedom, and deep cultural rupture. The mission era left marked scars, some visible in mission walls, others in vanished languages and ways of life. Spain's presence also set a pattern. Outsiders would keep coming, each wave reshaping the land further. Through the early 19th century, California felt remote to the rest of the United States. It sat at the edge of a continent, separated by deserts, mountains, and months of travel. To Washington and New York, it was a distant province, a place of ranchos and small pueblos where Spanish and Mexican traditions held sway. That sense of isolation made California an incubator of difference. People developed loose rules, audacious plans, and a frontier mentality that prized risk. It felt forgotten and free at once. Then in 1848, everything changed. Someone found gold. The discovery at Sutter's Mill lit a fuse. News of gold traveled like wildfire across oceans and prairies. Ships rerouted, wagons crawled west, entire families packed and left everything behind. San Francisco transformed from a sleepy harbor into a ramshackle boomtown almost overnight. Tents and shanties sprouted where there had been fields, docks overflowed with supplies, markets exploded with opportunity and chaos. The gold rush was raw and messy. Tents crowded with hopeful miners, rivers turned muddy from sluices, arguments over claims, sudden fortunes and sudden ruin. It was an intoxicating mix of ambition, greed, violence, and possibility. Out of that rush came rapid change. In 1850, California was admitted to the Union as the 31st state. That single decision anchored American presence on the Pacific. Flags rose over towns, and the state stitched itself into national politics and economy. Railroads carved through mountains and across plains, connecting California to the rest of the country. Farms bloomed in valleys once wild. Oil fields whispered of buried heat. Cities grew. Los Angeles spread with a mix of citrus orchards and bold real estate bets. San Diego's harbor became strategic. Sacramento became a bureaucratic center, and San Francisco stood as the golden doorway to the Pacific. By the early 20th century, another transformation was quietly underway. One that would shape how the world sees itself. Filmmakers, fed up with the East Coast's tight studio controls and hungry for consistent sunshine, headed west. They found cheap land, varied landscapes, and light that turned faces to gold. Hollywood began as a collection of studios and dreamers, shooting westerns on dusty lots and comedies in open air. Silent films gave way to talkies, and the industry matured into a global factory of stories. Movies built myths about America, and Californians learned to sell dreams, youthful faces, dramatic romances, and images of possibility that traveled worldwide. Hollywood didn't just depict culture, it shaped it. Then came the engines of war. World War II turned California into a manufacturing heartland. Shipyards on the Bay and in Los Angeles built fleets. Aircraft factories produced planes by the thousands. Ordnance plants hummed day and night. Workers poured in from across the country and the world. The state's ports and bases became strategic hubs. Military needs accelerated technology. Better metals, faster production, new engineering schools. The wartime boom birthed huge communities and infrastructure, and the skills developed in that rush migrated into post-war industries. After the war, orchards and fields near San Jose began to give way to something new: garages, tech startups, and a culture of tinkering. Silicon Valley started as orchards, apple trees shading dirt roads, and then as labs and electronics shops where engineers soldered circuit boards in cramped rooms. The region's genius was in connecting research universities, venture money, and a culture that rewarded experimentation. From microchips to personal computers, the innovations that came out of these valleys changed how people work, play, and connect. The internet, smartphones, and modern AI trace roots back to those early labs and bold entrepreneurs. California's technological reach is now global. Software from a single office can alter markets, elections, and daily life everywhere. By now, the state's influence is impossible to ignore. Movies, music, fashion, and tech products carry a Californian stamp. Startups launch in garages and threaten established industries. Billionaires push ideas that look like science fiction. Social media platforms born here shape public discourse on a global scale. A trend that starts on a Los Angeles set or a Silicon Valley campus can ripple to markets, cities, and living rooms worldwide. California sets tastes, tools, and sometimes the rules we live by. But the story is not all shimmering. The same forces that create wealth also create cost. You see the contrast in a single frame: a sprawling mansion on a sunlit hill, and below it, a tent encampment along a freeway. Skyrocketing housing costs push families out, homelessness sits in city corners, and once affordable neighborhoods morph into luxury enclaves. Wildfires, fed by drought and climate change, burn through communities with heartbreaking speed. Traffic congestion, strained public services, and debates about inequality highlight tensions between possibility and reality. The state that sells reinvention also houses real human struggles: displacement, addiction, and economic disparity that demand attention. Through all of these shifts, one theme returns: reinvention. People have always come to California to remake themselves. Prospectors chased quick fortunes in riverbeds. Filmmakers reinvented stories for a global audience. Engineers imagined new realities in silicon and code. Each wave brought newcomers who challenged the status quo and pushed the state into new forms. California became a laboratory for American dreams, a place where daring ideas try to scale to the world. If you enjoy untold American history told cinematically, subscribe for more stories from every state. Today, California stands as both mirror and engine of modern life. It reflects American contradictions: abundance beside scarcity, innovation beside instability, glamour beside hardship. It has steered how we entertain ourselves, how we communicate, and how we imagine the future. But it is also a place of real people making daily choices: teachers, factory workers, tech founders, artists, each stitching the state's tapestry in their own way. In the end, California didn't just change America, it helped shape the modern world. The mission set patterns of land and power. The gold rush taught the cost of sudden wealth. Hollywood taught us how to dream as a commodity. World War II taught industry how fast it could move. Silicon Valley taught us that a single idea, scaled, can redraw economies. The state remains alive with possibility and fraught with consequence. You can see the arc in a single skyline: cranes building high rises, palm trees swaying, a billboard announcing the latest streaming hit, a cyclist threading through traffic on a morning commute. The same land that held indigenous villages now hosts tech campuses and movie studios and fields that once glittered with gold. People still come seeking reinvention, because reinvention is woven into California's identity. Subscribe to discover the untold history of all 50 states. Which state should we explore next?